What's going on, guys? We are back with another video, and today we're checking out this OLED gaming monitor right here from Gigabyte. It is their AORUS FO27Q3, and this is going to be a really interesting video because I typically don't review monitors, and I'm not that technical on monitors. I like awesome monitors, obviously, and I've seen OLEDs at trade shows, at CES, but I've never actually sat down with one. I've never used one for a lengthy period of time, and I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to do that. So this review isn't going to be super technical. It's going to go over my real experience using this monitor, the things I liked, the things I didn't like. So let's go ahead and take a look. Now to get started, let's talk about the panel itself and get all of the technical stuff out of the way. This is a 27-inch QD OLED panel that features a 1440p resolution, 360 Hz refresh rate, 0.03 millisecond gray to gray response time, a 1.5 million to 1 contrast ratio, has 10-bit color and covers 99% of the DCI P3 color gamut. It's also certified for Display HDR True Black 400 and Clear MR 13000, as well as supporting AMD FreeSync Premium Pro. So what all that means basically is no matter what you're doing on this display, whether it's gaming, enjoying content, or just working, it's gonna look absolutely amazing. And of course, we're gonna show you all of that. The panel does have a glossy finish on it, and I'm actually a fan of the glossy finish. It allows things to be more vibrant on the screen, in my opinion. But if you're not using this display in a light controlled room, whether you have the lights completely off or whatever it may be, if you have this by a window and the light is changing, you will get some reflections on the screen. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. Now, when it comes to looks, this monitor is a pretty plain, non-flashy looking monitor. It just looks sleek, in my opinion. We do have a little AORUS logo sort of right down here. And besides that, really thin bezels, which is great to see. But beyond that, pretty plain looking display, except for the back, which I will show you. Now, the stand itself is what I like to call a Y stand because it flares out. And while the stand is pretty thin, like these legs are pretty thin, it is going to take up a decent amount of space on your desk. So if you're a mouse mat person, and I'm a mouse mat person, your mouse mat is going to get in the way of these long legs on the stand. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. But the stand does offer a lot of versatility. So here it is. I'll put it up at its highest setting. So that's how high the monitor can go. And then we can go down to the lowest setting there. You can also go ahead and swivel this. So you can swivel it that far, swivel it back that far. And we can angle it. So we can angle it, do it this way. You can angle it down, and you can angle it up for the best viewing angle for you. Now, one of the cool things that this stand does offer, which a lot don't, is that we can go fully into portrait mode using the stand. Typically, you don't get that on a lot of stands, so definitely nice to see that here. The stand also does offer cable routing here, as you can see. Now, the one thing that's interesting is the power cable has this large section right here in it, and it's on both sides, so you can't actually route the power cable through the stand like the rest of your cables. Under the AORUS logo on the front of the monitor, you are going to have a power LED, and I really like it that this isn't visible when you're actually looking at the monitor. Of course, we're under it so we can see it, but I really like that we're finally moving power LEDs from the front of the monitor under, so they're not distracting when we're using our system or gaming. We also have a little joystick here. I'm a huge fan of the joystick over like 5 or 6 buttons. So we have the joystick here that's going to bring up your menu, and of course you use that to turn on and off the system. And then we have 2 buttons on either side for going through menus. Here we can see, just how thin this OLED panel is. Extremely thin display, and then the back part doesn't take up all that much space. But again, this gives you an idea of how much space this will take up on your desk if you're using it with the stand. Of course, this is VESA mount compatible, so you can mount it to a monitor arm or put it on the wall. The back of the monitor has this really sleek design, and you do get some RGB lighting, so you can kind of see it going across here. Now, this isn't RGB lighting that's really going to backlight the monitor or anything, but it definitely gives it a cool look. There is also an Aorus logo at the top that does light up as well. Also located here on the back of the monitor are our speakers. Typically, we don't have good speakers on any type of monitor, but these are actually really good. How good? Here's what they sound like, you know, just playing some normal games. All of your connections are located on the underside of the monitor. For standard display connections, there's two HDMI 2.1 and a single DisplayPort 1.4. Having HDMI 2.1 means that you can connect a PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X and enjoy 120 Hz gameplay. There's also a Type-C port that supports alternate mode as well as 18-watt power delivery, so you can easily go ahead and connect a laptop up to this display, no problem. And having the power delivery is great, so you can either charge your phone or something like a wireless keyboard. Moving over, we have our headphone and microphone jacks, a USB Type-B connector, and two USB-A ports, as well as your power connection. Now, the USB Type-B connector does come with a cable that you'll connect to your PC, and then the two USB-A ports are downstream, so you can easily connect your keyboard or your mouse or a USB headset to the monitor itself, and it's going to work, of course, on that system. But on top of that, this monitor has a built-in KVM, so that laptop that you connected via the Type-C or any other system that you connect via the Type-C, if you hit the KVM button on the monitor, it's going to allow you to use those two USB-A ports. Gaming on this display has been an absolute blast. It's really going to be hard for me to go from this back to my display that's behind me. You know, this display is OLED and that one's not. This display is 360 Hertz. That one is only 120 Hertz. So it's going to be a sad day when I have to send this back to Gigabyte. But I mainly have been playing a lot of Helldivers 2 and Apex Legends. Apex Legends, of course, is super fast paced, and having a 360 Hertz monitor is going to be awesome for that. And luckily enough, I was actually testing a fully fledged pre-built gaming PC at the same time I'm reviewing this monitor. So it had an RTX 4070 Ti super overclocked card in there. So I was able to push that in Apex Legends, and it was just so much fun. And for a lot of people, you know, moving from 60 Hertz to 144 Hertz, you can definitely tell the difference. But even if you're moving from 144 Hertz or 120 Hertz, in my case, all the way up to 360 Hertz, you're definitely going to tell the difference. You can just see things a lot faster, in my opinion, and it's just a great overall experience for fast-paced games. And I think if you are looking at this monitor, you're definitely going to be looking at fast-paced gaming, of course, with the 360 Hertz refresh rate. Now, when it came to Helldivers 2, who doesn't love that game? I mean, it is so much fun, but it looks so amazing on this display with, of course, you know, that clarity, that richness that you're going to get with this display. It was just like, you know, I've been playing Helldivers on my older monitor, and on this, it's like, this is what Helldivers 2 should really look like. I mean, it looks absolutely amazing. And like I said, it's going to be so sad going back to that monitor because every game I played on this just looks so amazing and so much fun. This is an Aorus gaming monitor, so we do have some game assist features. Here are three that I think are the most useful. Crosshair is the first, and it's just like it sounds. It puts a crosshair in the center of the screen at all times for better aiming. There is a handful of different crosshairs that you can choose from. Eagle Eye can be really useful, especially if you play a sniper in your games. It essentially puts a picture-in-picture box in the center of your screen and then blows that image up. It essentially gives you a zoom without actually having to zoom. The monitor has a tactical switch as well. It's one of the buttons underneath the monitor, and when you press it, it's going to change the resolution down to 1080p change the refresh rate down to 240 hertz, and actually change the picture as well down to what you would see on a 24-inch monitor. Now, I can see this being useful if you're in-game playing at your max settings and you're just noticing, you know, some issues. Instead of having to go into the settings and change things or investigate, you just press that and it bumps down your settings right off the bat and you can get back into gaming. Really helpful, especially if you are in something like maybe a tournament situation. When it comes to general use on this monitor, let's talk about viewing content. Of course, being an OLED, that really rich clarity and everything that you're going to get is going to be really good. So those deep dark blacks when you're watching your movies and other content is going to be amazing. The color reproduction is going to be great. This is a really awesome monitor for viewing content. And then when it comes to general, you know, productivity stuff, I would say the 27-inch size non-curved is a really good monitor for single window use. Now, you can do two windows side by side on this, but I feel things are a little bit crunched. You know, you could do a window maybe at 80 or 75% and maybe have your social media over here on the side, but I think single window use is the best use of this monitor. Also, when it comes to productivity and general use, one of the things that's been pointed out with OLEDs is text clarity. So if you have black text on a white background, you may notice some red fringing around the actual letters. Now, I'll put this image up on the screen that I took, really zoomed in, of that actually happening on this monitor. So it is apparent, but at least for me, to the naked eye, I don't see it. I use this monitor pretty much straight through for an entire month, and I didn't notice any of that to the naked eye. People complain about getting headaches and things like that, but at least for me, with this monitor, I didn't notice it with, you know, my blank eye. Now, if I zoom in with a zoom lens, I can see it, but in general, it's not an issue to me. One of the biggest things that holds a lot of people back from going the OLED route, especially when it comes to a gaming monitor, is burn-in. So right off the bat, Gigabyte is backing this monitor up with a 3-year warranty that does cover burn-in. But on top of that, they have what they're calling OLED Care, which is a whole suite of features that is going to reduce or more or less eliminate burn-in on the display. To access the OLED Care features, you enter the OSD menu on the monitor and then you'll see an icon for it. The first feature is Pixel Clean. This combs through your monitor pixel by pixel and will correct any brightness inconsistencies. To use Pixel Clean, your monitor needs at least 4 hours of accumulated use. It will automatically run after you power off your monitor if your monitor is idle for 1 hour, or you can initiate it yourself. Static control will dim the display brightness to 20% once it notices that the image on the screen hasn't changed. Pixel Shift will nudge the display every 2 minutes by moving it up, down, left, or right by 1 pixel. This is completely unnoticeable to the naked eye, so it's not something that's going to interrupt your gaming session. APL Stabilize acts as a balancing act for your monitor's brightness. It keeps an eye on the overall brightness across your screen and keeps things pretty uniform. This keeps overly bright pixels from creating burn-in. It makes the viewing experience more comfortable for your eyes. You can customize by selecting low, medium, or a high setting. Sub-Logo Dim will look out for persistent logos or text on the screen or your taskbar and will dial down the brightness of these persistent elements. You can customize this with a low or high setting. Finally, Corner Dim will reduce the brightness of the 4 corners of the display by 15%. Now, as we come to the end here, I have to say that I'm definitely sad because I know I have to send this back to Gigabyte and I really don't want to. It has been an absolute blast using this monitor, gaming on this monitor, watching content on this monitor has been so much fun. And I think if you're buying a new monitor here in 2024, you should really consider an OLED. I think a lot of the major issues with OLEDs, especially when it comes to gaming displays, has been figured out in this generation. The biggest thing, of course, burn-in. We have OLED Care with this, which is all of those features that combats that. On top of that, Gigabyte does back this up with a 3-year warranty that covers burn-in. So you have all of that stuff, which is excellent. Now, this display in general, of course, it checks all the boxes. It has all the features that you're gonna want. It's super fast refresh rate up to 360 hertz. So if you are a fast-paced gamer, you can definitely take advantage of that. If you're doing something like I was playing Helldivers 2, the visual clarity in that game is absolutely amazing on this display. So whether you're gaming, whether you're enjoying content, whatever it is, it's gonna look absolutely awesome on this display. On top of that, this display has a ton of different connectivity and other features as well. So of course you have DisplayPort for your PC. You have the two HDMI 2.1s, which means if you are connecting this to a PS5 or an Xbox Series X, you can play games at 120 Hertz. You have the Type-C, so if you're bringing your laptop home from work, you can instantly connect it right up to this display with that one cable. On top of that, you do have the two downstream USB ports as well, so you can connect your keyboard and your mouse right to this, or keyboard and headset, and you have all of that right connected to the monitor. And this monitor has good speakers. Like, what monitor has good speakers these days, you know? So really good speakers on this. You know, they're not like insanely good, but they're good. And I haven't had good speakers on a monitor in a very long time. So great to see that. Great viewing angles. You know, there's not much I don't like about this monitor. If anything, the stand, I'm not the biggest fan of because it does take up a lot of space on the desk, and I'm a desk mat type of guy. Also really weird, like I said, that you can't route the power cable through the stand. That was just a little weird for me, but the stand does give you a lot of flexibility as well. I think the downside to this monitor for a lot of people is just the price. $799 for a 27-inch gaming display. That puts it out of reach for a lot of people. But again, this is top of the line. It is going to be one of the fastest and one of the best looking gaming monitors that you can buy in 2024. So I will have links below. We have our full written review over on the website, ThinkComputers.org, and links where you can go ahead and pick this up. Now, if you did enjoy this video, I would appreciate it if you hit the thumbs up, and we'll see you guys in the next video.